Hi there, welcome to Heart to Heart.
Hi.
If you haven't listened to any before, this is not scripted. We just sit and we talk. We wanted it to be real. We obviously sort of checked it out with our members a few times, but so you have to put up with the ums, but you can be absolutely sure that what is coming out is real. It's not a performance.
Yep.
And particularly today, you may even see a few more hesitations because we've decided to talk about how our work began.
Yeah. We've talked a wee bit about it in the past, but really we were going to go into the actual story of it. It's a story that we haven't exactly avoided, but we haven't put it out there before. One of the reasons is that we're going to talk about subjects that some people might not particularly like, but anyway, here goes.
Yeah. Can we just say before we start that because we're therapists, your well-being is really important to us, the integrity of where you're at.
Yep.
We've always said we meet people where we're at. And so that is a very, very high value system to us, and we never want to put up barriers. But to talk about this journey, we have to talk about spirituality because it's in the core of it. And at the end of it, we'll explain why we've chosen to do that today.
If we're going to be real, then we have to be real. We have to get all of us. So this is all of us.
Yeah. Okay. And this journey was harder for you than me. I mean, I'm a pastor's daughter, so kind of I grew up with this. But when I first met you, kind of if I said the name kind of Christian, you'd start twitching and want to run out the door.
It was a bit like that because I had been sort of, the church hadn't been very kind to me in the past, and I had some Christians in the past, and also had delved into various and assorted things in the past, and just decided that, I would never have said I was an atheist. I don't think I ever came down and said I was an atheist, but I definitely said I was an agnostic.
And it was a bit awkward when we fell in love. Because the reason I had such a strong faith is in the middle of this, living with a drinker. I really had to find out if God was there and really call out to him, and I'd found that he really, really turned up. So when I began to talk to you about that was kind of quite hard.
Yep.
But by the time this story begins, you were in a different place with that, weren't you? You'd met some really nice people and decided we weren't all idiots and, maniacs.
Most of them seemed reasonably human at the time, they were very different. I have always resisted change in any shape or form. I've always resisted sort of people sort of demanding of me in any shape or form, and I really wasn't very keen. When I thought about Christianity, I thought that's exactly what was going to happen with it, but it didn't, and it hasn't.
No. So by the time this story begins, certainly you had taken a step towards having a deeper kind of spiritual experience yourself. But what happened to me, you hadn't really come across before. And we were sitting in a cafe, a place called Darts Farm near Exeter, and it was like I went into a different world. It was kind of like a vision. Now, it wasn't new to me. I'd kind of had a few of these before, so I knew something was going on. But I heard all these cries and groanings, and the pain of it was so deep. I actually started crying, didn't I?
You did, yes. I thought, wow, I really know how to show a girl a good time, don't I? This date's going really well, So I thought, this is getting distinctly odd here,
So I kind of grabbed him by the hand. I said, I think I know what's going on. Just hang on a minute and I'll try and explain. So I went back into the vision and I started talking to God and I said, what's going on here? And it was so clear. I felt this voice say, these are the cries of people really struggling with addiction, with families, and their pain is important to me, and I want you to go and help them. And it was so real that when I spoke to you about it, that reality kind of landed on you as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it just seemed to make an awful lot of sense to me. I wasn't really looking at it in a spiritual point of view, but I was looking at it in a sort of commonsensical point of view. I mean, she's a therapist. She lived with an alcoholic. I'm a psychologist. I was an alcoholic. You put these two together and you've got something, something maybe something special.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, yes, of course. Why wouldn't you? I had already created 247, which was for drinkers. And I thought, yeah, why would you not? Why would you not do that? So I didn't see it on a spiritual level, but I did see it, as I say, in a commonsensical level, if that's a word.
Yeah. And just as we began to talk about it, I think that you did begin to sense that it was a call that was bigger than us.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had some kind of spirituality around me, although I've often resisted it as well. And of course, I'd come up through Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd come up through the 12-step program, which is, as they say, is a spiritual program, you know. And God is at the heart of that one, you know. And I have to say, I resisted that, you know, as much as I possibly could, you know. Because they kept saying, there is an answer. And I'm going, can I have another answer, please? Because I'm not really keen on that one. And it wasn't until I was really forced. I was forced to my knees because I thought I need to do something or I'm going to drink. And I really don't want to drink, but I don't know how I won't drink. And I've told this story many times. I said, you know, I ended up saying the most fervent prayer in my life. And it was 3 words: God, help me. And since that day, I've never had a craving. Never had a craving. I mean, it's 35 years and I've never had a craving. So God turned up that day. Didn't turn up the way I always had expected or the way I'd liked it to do, you know, because I, you know, nothing dramatic. Choir of Angels would have been nice, you know, the voice from the sky, that sort of thing. Fiery Chariot, not particularly fussed. But he turned up in the most effective way, which is he took away the craving. And as I say, it's been like that ever since. So even though I was deep in agnosticism, I had to say, oh, something happened there, you know, and reluctantly I said it. Reluctantly, I have to say, because I had to talk to a lot of people who pointed out what was obvious, that, you know, you prayed, you know, you were sort of, had this terrible craving that you couldn't control, you prayed, you didn't have a craving. Work that one out, you know. Is there a logic happened here, you know? So as I say, I was a reluctant spiritual person.
And I think it's important that you know that.
Absolutely.
Because many people's journey to something outside of themselves is not easy. It is a lot of kind of soul searching.
Yeah.
I think that, again, one of the reasons why we are kind of talking today is, first of all, that's where the chain of care began.
Yeah.
It's God in our lives turned up and say, these people matter to us. And as you know, as Christians, you kind of tend to continue to pray everything. So we just continue to pray. And the heart of God was so strong in us that we actually, we invested our own money doing this.
Yeah.
And that's not to say how wonderful we are. It is to say that it was such a deep thing inside of us by the time we really thought this through and started doing it, that we're literally prepared to put our money where our mouth is, if we like.
Literally. Yeah.
Okay.
And we put quite a lot of money where our mouth was, you know, but but we don't regret that one bit. You know, initially we thought we'd recoup it by, you know, charging, etc. But you know, as we've told the story sort of at the end of last year, we just felt, no, we have to give this away. We really need to give it away. And that was when the chain of care really started. Because what we looked at was we saw people looking at the website and thinking, oh, do I really want to invest in this, you know? And we thought, well, okay, we'll take that barrier away. If we take that barrier away, then we can help people without them having to worry about where the money's coming from. Because quite often, if there's an alcoholic in the family, then a lot of your money is going out and you're kind of short of cash, and I'm sure a lot of you will relate to that. So we thought, well, we'll take that away. But as I say, so that was the start of the chain of care. We give it to you, you give it to somebody else, they give it to etc. etc.
And can I say thank you so much for the people that really have invested. One lot of people is inclined to give a bit more than the other. You can probably work that out for yourself, which group give more. But we can promise you that it does go back. We've just paid up front for a year, and the money that you give will pay us back for that. That literally every penny that you make goes back into somebody somewhere Googling in 6 months' time thinking, is there anybody that can help me? And arriving at the website. We also apologise deeply for the things that keep happening. They are out of our control and drive us nuts.
Yeah, it's been a difficult last few months, and you know, and if you've been around the website for the last few months, you'll realise that yes, it's been difficult. People couldn't join, then they could join, and then they couldn't get in access to the website, and then they could. You know, it's been one thing after another, and we really deeply apologise for that.
I mean, he's been tearing his hair out. I've had to pin him down in the corner because he hadn't got enough hair to tear anymore.
Thank you for that, dear.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay, now why are we telling you now, okay?
Yeah.
Why we're telling you now, for those of you who think, oh, feel free to just ignore this video.
Sure.
The last thing we want to do is piss you off, but...
Yeah, because there's plenty of other videos you can watch.
Yes, we don't mention anything about faith, but in the coronavirus that is going around the world, and Britain is just getting to this point where there's going to be more and more lockdown, people are feeling very helpless, and they're feeling really afraid. And so I think the hope which we bring today, even the fact that you're sitting here listening to us, is because we were called by someone who cared for you, who's bigger than us and still cares for you. As we do believe, if you reach out, help is there, love is there, care is there. And for the people that will listen to this and think, oh, I really needed to hear that because I'm scared, we thought, well, we're going to risk it. We are going to do this because it's part of our narrative. But also we both deeply believe that you are not alone out there.
Yep.
We deeply believe that. And the reason I have such a strong faith, and how John, in the end, got his faith, was because we had a spiritual intervention from a God that we have got to know who really cares. And, you know, it's the sickness and darkness out there is nothing to do with God. If you get to know him, you will know that he is love. And the two pictures he gave us were about the love in partnership and the love between a parent and a child. Profound pictures of deep committed love.
And if I could just say two things. One is that the spirituality is at the heart of the 12-step program. I said that already. And that was because of Bill Wilson had the spiritual experience when he was in a psychiatric hospital. And he wrote to Carl Jung, who's a very famous psychologist at the time, and Carl Jung wrote back and said, look, you need this spiritual experience because what we're looking at is transformation. Transformation, alcohol transforms you, transforms your personality, sometimes not for the better, but that's another matter. And you need something which is also transformative. This was what Carl Jung had said. So that's there, and it has been part of a 12-step and Minnesota model type program for many, many years. And the other point I want to make is that when I taught the master's course for alcohol and drug counsellors, I introduced the spirituality as a module. And the reason I did that was for holistic reasons. Much of medical science was starting to look at, as I say, a holistic approach which looked at mental, physical and spiritual, and how that, fitted into healing. For example, the Lancet devoted a complete edition to spirituality and healing, and they came out very, very positive about that. And it's not just in the realms of addiction, but there's a lot of research going on around the world looking at how spirituality aids healing.
And prayer, which is just the way of building a bridge between the seen and the unseen, came out very well in that magazine as well, I believe. So there you are. So we decided to tell you, I suppose, who we truly were and what our journey is all about. And as I said earlier, for those for whom this is important, then do share. If you have a faith that's real for you, talk about it on the forum. If you're from the States, you probably don't even understand why we're being so tentative, because people talk about all sorts of things there. In England, not so much, and people, can be quite actual hostile and aggressive, really, which I think is really sad. And they think they know, but actually, if you look at research, they don't know, because research does show that to have a sense of the unseen and the spiritual is really, really important for our mental and emotional health. So if people are feeding stuff into you, actually he's a professor of drink and drugs and he's actually gone into this. He wouldn't have taught a module unless he kind of had done the research, So, spirituality gets worse press than it should do, really. So, but remember, this website is open to people of all faiths and people of no faith. You matter to us, no matter where you're coming from. You matter to us. We want you to know your pain matters, your journey matters, and we will always do our best to input this website as well as we can, and to build a community where you can come and feel safe and begin to apply some helpful things. So thanks for listening. I'm sure we'll check in again soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye.